Hello everyone, and welcome back to another series with ArtSpark Texas. This series of videos focuses on people, places, and things. Hey everyone, in this series we're going to be talking about three important areas of art: portrait, landscape, and still life. The first three videos are going to help us just understand how to create these pictures more accurately, how to make our portraits look more like the person we're drawing, how to make our landscapes feel more realistic and have space, and how to get our still life objects the right size and in the right place, and also have that depth and dimension. The supplies you'll need for this project are a sheet of watercolor paper, watercolor pencils, a synthetic brush, and a cup of water. But you could certainly do this project with just standard drawing supplies. Welcome to Lesson 2, Understanding the Landscape. Let's get started in step 1 by taking out a fresh sheet of watercolor paper. We're going to be using our watercolor pencils because this for us is a painting in the end. I'm going to sketch in a border really quick, and then my first step is to create a horizon line across the page. This is a horizontal line that will separate the land from the sky. I'm going to pick one point on the horizon line and draw myself some perspective lines. Now we're not going to get carried away with perspective, but essentially the setup of our drawing should look like this: a horizon line with one single point and many diagonal lines all connecting to that one point. I'm going to go ahead and make my light source at that point, so I'll put an arching shape to represent a sunshine. If you wanted to, you could go ahead and sketch in some mountains or whatnot on the horizon line. We can come back and add that detail in just a bit. Next, let's draw some horizontal construction lines. Draw lines on your page to match the red ones on this example. Essentially, these lines are going to help us place things in space. We know that as objects get closer to the horizon, they get smaller. Now we're going to try to draw in a road or a pathway. This could be a river in the end, but for my example, I'm using the idea of a road. It starts at my vanishing point, that's back at the sun, curves around, and reaches the bottom of the page. What am I trying to do with this road? I'm trying to show perspective. And so the road gets smaller as it goes back to the horizon. This is going to force that perspective in the picture. After you've sketched in your road or your visual pathway, let's go ahead and choose one of these perspective lines. We're going to darken it in, and then we're going to draw a line that runs perpendicular to it to represent a roof, a vertical line to represent a wall. What these lines make are a building or a structure of sorts, and I'm going to add some diagonal lines. These extra lines are just visual texture for the wall of the structure. I want to show really quickly how things get smaller as they go back in space, so I'm going to insert just a few fence posts along the road, starting to think about how objects are smaller in the back, larger in the front. Let's add some horizontal lines that start at the edge of the page and run into the road itself. So these will go horizontally. I'm drawing some curving lines, and you notice that they're getting further spread apart as they get toward the bottom of the picture. Then I'm going to connect those horizontal lines with some diagonals. We're doing this to break apart the landscape. We want to show that objects or the land, as it approaches the horizon line, gets kind of squished together in a way. And as it gets closer to us, at the bottom of the page, it spreads apart. We can reinforce that by inserting our fence post now. So go ahead and let's start making taller lines at the bottom of the page, smaller, really tiny lines as they go up toward the horizon. This is just going to reinforce that idea of perspective. You can go ahead and insert your fence posts. Maybe you want yours to be an old fence and some of the fence posts are missing. Maybe you want it to be new and they're all kind of pristine and really sharply drawn and painted. But what you'll notice is all these visual cues give us the idea that we are going back in space as we look into this picture and up this picture from the bottom to the top. In step 2, we're going to start sketching in some additional details here. We have the basic structure. We have a picture that has depth. Now let's add some more elements that also speak to the depth of the picture and the space of the picture. Let's add a tree somewhere in the bottom half of your page. Let's add a large tree because it's closer to us. Halfway back in your picture, let's add a medium-sized tree, and toward the top of the picture, let's add some smaller trees. Let's do the same thing with clouds. So at the very top of the page are your largest clouds. Just below that are your medium-sized clouds, and as it approaches the horizon and gets lower, the clouds are really small because they're further away. This is all reinforcing perspective. This is all working together to tell the story of this picture. Great work. I'm going to add a little bit of texture on the road here, just something visual. Spend some time with your watercolor pencils, fully colorizing your picture. Add in more details. Remember that the details that are closer to us are more visible. With every choice you make, you're reinforcing that perspective. I hope you enjoyed this landscape. I can't wait to see the results. Thanks for attending. Thank you to our ArtSpark funders: Texas Commission on the Arts, Christopher and Dana Reeves Foundation, St. David's Foundation, Austin Public Library, Cultural Arts, City of Austin, and the Donald D. Hamill Foundation.